Hello everybody, welcome to this episode of Etching Scripts 101. It's your host Whitney, and today we got a topic. Let me tell you, today it might come off as me venting, but you know what, that's what it is. Let's just call it what it is. I gotta vent to somebody. I gotta vent to you guys about the bullshit that I've been going through, yo. We're gonna talk about one of the most aggravating, irritating, stupidest things that I'm sure a lot of you had to go through this year of 2020. So this is the first time ever since I was 16 years old. There was a period when I was 16 where I wasn't employed, but from 16 and then I'm gonna just say from 18, because I got my job that I stayed with for 4 years, and ever since I got that job I've been working. So ever since I was 18 years old, I have never been unemployed. I consistently held a job. I just want to make that clear before we get deep into this video. I have always held a job, and majority of the times that I was working, I had more than one job. So before we get into this topic, I just need a second to recollect my thoughts. Thank you guys for joining me today. Give me one moment.
Listen to this track, bitch.
Okay, your girl's good. Listen, let's just talk about unemployment. No, matter of fact, how about this? Because I know it's gonna be a venting session. First off, how you guys doing today? Is your day going well? I hope your day is going splendid. I hope I'm going to help you out in any way to relieve some sort of stress. Okay? I do want to tell you guys that my Instagram is Etching Scripts 101 if you want to connect with me on there. I do have a segment here called a writer scope where you send to me whatever issues you're going through, and with that also I can talk about it on here. Everyone is kept anonymous and I give you advice, or we can just all vent together. So this is the first, technically, I don't want to say it's the first episode that I'm venting to everybody, because pretty much this whole thing is me venting. However, this is like the official venting moment. So follow me on my Instagram. Read it in the description box if you forget it. Alright, let's just talk about it. So let me tell you about my experience with the Department of Labor. So, shit. Listen. Okay, so your girl... No, let's start with this. Everyone knows what's going on this year in 2020. We've been through a lot. It's been one thing after another. When it rains, it freaking pours. Listen. So as we're all going through this experience, we're trying to avoid getting sick. We're trying to avoid things happening to us and things happening to our family members, and the smart people are trying to avoid things happening to other people as well, so we take our precautions, right? So while we're taking our precautions, a lot of jobs have been on furlough. A lot of jobs people have been sent home. A lot of people have been fired. A lot of people are learning to work differently now. Like, as we're going through the different stages, everyone had to work home at some point. Everyone had to, some people got laid off. Like, it's crazy. Some people don't know when they're going back to work. It's literally a mess. So with this mess, America is funny. We just thought, instead of eradicating the problem, we just thought we're just gonna live with the problem, like make it our new normal, apparently. But I've already said in my mind that I'm gonna go to Toronto, so that's where I'm moving. No, I'm just kidding. But at the end of the day, I just hope that we're able to come together as a community and be able to start being smart for once, because the last 4 years have not been the smartest decisions, if you feel what I'm saying. So for my own personal experience, I had a job, and I was I don't want to say laid off, because my job was a part of my university. So I was a student worker over there. I was a part of what we call the student specialists. So I was working with my department, and I was there technically, no, I don't want to say technically full time, but I was, because I didn't get no benefits or anything like that, but I was there 29 hours a week, which is not full time at all, but the full part time, I suppose. And I got paid by doing so. I was their researcher in a sense. And so when I graduated April 30th of this year, that concluded my employment over there at the where I was working, right? Keep in mind. And so, as I discussed already, I've had multiple jobs in the past year. I've had multiple jobs with that employer. So on April 30th, what did your girl do? Your girl filed for unemployment. Now, I know there's a lot of people with this story, because it has been very irritating how there's so many people who get unemployment who have jobs, but the ones who actually need it are not being given that assistance. And I know some people are like going crazy with their money because there was some point where some people were like getting an extra $600. I don't know what that was about, but also like I'm actually kind of like, I'm not salty about it, but it's just like, you know, if people need it, they're going to use it, of course. But of course, there's some people that's going to take advantage of that who didn't have any money after that stopped or whatever. And now that the economy is opening up, it's a lot harder to get unemployment. So listen to the timeline, girl. Listen, I've been trying this thing since April 30th. Let's just say May, because that's the last day of the month. So I don't want to be like, oh, I've been trying since April and make it sound bigger than what it was, even though it's just 1 month, right? So it's October now. I've been trying since May-ish, right? I've been trying since May, and I've been consistently denied. Keep in mind, your girl has not been working, but I've been consistently denied because they were asking me about an employer that I worked with last year. Not my most recent employer. They were asking about an employer that I worked with last year during the summer. And so I was giving them the information that they asked for, but it wasn't good enough for them. So they were like, oh, you didn't send it in time, right? Keep in mind, delivery things are delayed, right? So whenever they would send something to me, it would always come like 2 weeks after the deadline. And I'm like, y'all know what you doing. Why are you sending mail things to people? Why don't you send an email? Why don't you answer the phones? They don't answer the phones at all. You send an email to every last one of the people that it says to contact. They don't get back to you. Like, they really not trying to help out anybody. It's like, that's genuinely how I feel like, because they make it so hard for people to get assistance. And my thing is like, if you're gonna make it hard for people to get assistance, why don't you come out and see if they actually need that assistance? Like, that's what I think should be done. Why? Because it would actually make sense and you would actually know whether or not people are abusing the system or not. Given you can't do that for everybody that, you know, applies, but I think it'd be a better system than just the way that they do it, because they ask stupid questions. They're very weird with the wording of their questions, and I'm like, y'all doing this on purpose. You know exactly what you are doing. And so it makes me very irritated because you have people out here who really need this sort of thing and you're not wanting to help. Like, why aren't you wanting to help? Why is the system built this way that's aimed towards helping people? Like, it don't make no type of sense, but this is just the world, the state, whatever that we live in. So of course I'm trying to do my grind. I'm trying to do things that I'm supposed to do in order to make money. Of course it's not working, but you know, it's just like, this is a different time. So as I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, unemployment is a thing, I recognize this. So what is some of the ways that I can, you know, not stress out about it so much? And I don't even know if I could tell you for real if it worked, but I know that I personally am just kind of like, you know what, I don't feel like God wants me to have a job right now, because I feel like there was a lot of jobs that I was applying to that I was overqualified, and it made no type of sense why I wasn't getting them, right? Like, I was applying to restaurants. I have 6 years of restaurant experience. I'm confused. Why am I not being hired as a server? Oh, because you have a master's degree and it's gonna look like you don't want to stay. What type of mess is that? Okay, like, what are you talking about? Shut up. Like, my bills don't care. Unemployment obviously doesn't care. I feel like I'm not going towards any direction. I also feel like I'm somewhat lost, because my thing is like, I don't like work. I don't like not working. You know what I mean? Like, even though it was nice to just chill for a little bit and to not have to, I don't want to say not have to worry about anything, because I was worrying about a lot, but it was nice to like be able to sit there and chill. But even then I wasn't even chilling for real like that, because I was studying for stuff. Like, it was like, I can see how God would want me not to work at the moment, because it's just like, I keep biting my tongue. But like, there was other things that I had to worry about at the moment. So like, I can say, okay, fine, like, I probably shouldn't have a job right then, but I definitely felt the effects of not being able or not being comfortable not having a job. I had a good savings, girl. Like, I had a good savings that was supposed to be geared towards law school, and all of it, literally every last bit of it, I'm lying, like $100 is left from that. Like, I had a good $3,000 and my bills took all of that. And even though like, I'm thankful that I had built up a savings, it still sucks because I was really excited. I was really proud of the fact that I had such a savings that could have taken me, it wouldn't have taken me far, but it like technically it did take me far. It did take me far because if I was in law school during this time, I would have been okay. I just would have had to take a loan by now. But I'm not trying to take out a loan before I get into school. That doesn't make no sense. But if I want to say anything, is like one thing that I learned about myself is that the uncomfortability with asking for help is a good thing. Like it's very uncomfortable for me to ask for handouts. Like as of right now, I am waiting on an offer from this job where I would be not necessarily teaching, but I'd be like a teaching assistant. So I'm waiting on that offer to hopefully potentially get that job and start working. I didn't know it was going to take this long, but you know, regardless, because I've been talking to these people since September 25th and it is freaking, what is it, October 14th? Like my background check, I got it in the mail that I'm good to work. So what's the deal? What's the problem? But you know, that's neither here nor there. So I mean, like the lady told me that whether or not I get approved is contingent upon my offer. So if they say no to me, I'm gonna be really pissed. My mom told me, she was like, I thought you would have gotten a restaurant job by now. I was like, thanks, mother, because I'm not trying. But you know, like I know she's just saying like get a second job basically while you're waiting on this job, which makes sense. I should start doing that now that I have the free time to do so. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, a lot of things like, okay, back to the uncomfortability, right? Like it's very uncomfortable asking for handouts because right now my savings are out and I'm gonna have to rely on my mother for the help, and I don't like that at all. Like I thought I would have been making money by now, but I'm not, and it's very irritating because she's paying for my phone bill this month and she's gonna pay for my bills next month if I don't get a job. But I'm hoping and praying that I hurry up and get a job. And then like I'm gonna have to quit in the next 2 to 3 months and I can't say why. So it's very irritating. So let me tell you about my unemployment story. Listen to this, yo. So I applied for unemployment and they sent me a letter asking me about a job that I had last summer, right? And so they were saying like, you know, they were saying, what was your job? What was your employment? Like, etc., like filling out the document. And I'm like, this isn't my most recent employer. Why are they asking about this? But they kept saying most recent bona fide employer. And let me tell you, I have no idea what bona fide means. I asked my sister who's an attorney and she looked it up and she was like, basically it means what she's finding is your most real, your most valid, your most verifiable employer. And so I applied 3 times. I got denied all 3 times, and each time they asked me for an employer that I had that was not my most recent employer. So I'm like, what the fuck does bona fide mean? Because this is my most recent employment. I also had a friend who was also a student employed, I was about to say employed, but employed, like she was employed at the same university that I was working out, and also got unemployment. I'm like, something's not adding up. Like something does not make any type of sense here. Because we both applied for unemployment, and she got it and I didn't. And she also had a job that she was working at. Like that job, she still worked there, and worked somewhere else, I think, but like under the 10-hour limit. I'm like, man, y'all really tripping over here, because like, what? You're not making sense. So moving forward, right, like I ended up giving up on applying, and the moment I gave up, I got I got a letter in the mail saying that my job, like the place, my most recent bona fide employer, appealed on my behalf. And so basically I have to show up in court and talk about, you know, what's my most recent employment, yada yada yada, what did I have before my job, like I have to talk about all of that. And so the court date finally came up. I had court today. I don't know if I should say when, but like I had court, right? And so I go on the line because we're having like a virtual court thing, and it's my boss, my previous supervisor, and the hiring manager at my last job on the line. And so the lady's talking to us and she's just like, you know, I have to ask these questions, and then like she's telling us how the procedure is going to go. And so she asked my boss questions like, has Whitney worked there before? Does she work there now? does she do X, Y, and Z? What does she do? How much did she get paid? Like, how long was she working there for? And he answered all of them, and he was like, we didn't fire her or anything like that. The employment ended because she graduated. And then the lady was like, okay, so she was a student, yeah. And then the hiring manager was like, she worked on this date to this date more specifically. And then they couldn't figure out when was my last day. And I was like, ding, ding. I know, my last day was 4:30 and my last pay date was May 15th. My last check that I ever received was May 15th. And so basically, like, during this whole court thing, I was trying to tell the lady that, I've had multiple jobs even while working at this job. And so she kept cutting me off, which was like, I guess that's their job because they're trying to get to the point. But I'm like, okay, sis, but which job are you asking for when I had multiple at the same time? I had my most recent one, which lasted longer. Then I had tutoring. And then I worked as an intern somewhere. I also worked at a restaurant for over a year. And I had 4 jobs at one time. I had 4 jobs at one time before. So what you asking me? Which job are we talking about? The one that was the longest? Or do you want to just pick one out of the list and then deny me again? And that's basically what happened. So everything that, while I'm communicating, I'm not even communicating with them. Keeping it a buck, I'm not, because nobody's answering the phone. The phone is like, the phone lines are busy. Please try calling again later. No matter what time. Like, if they open up at 8, you call, it sends you right to that. You try to call later after lunch, it sends you right to that. You try to call before lunch, it sends you right to that. You try to call before the end of the day is over. I was calling on the hour trying to get in touch with people. Nobody was picking up the phone. And then I was getting emails, and during this whole process, right before the court date, I was getting I keep saying emails, but I was getting things in the mail about my tutoring job. The one that, okay, so let me make this make sense, right? So I was working at my student employment, and I stopped my student employment for a little bit because I ended up getting a very good internship that lasted the whole summer. And so for the whole summer, I had an internship, and I was also tutoring in the evenings while I had my full-time internship. So I was working at a software place during the day, and then in the evening, I was tutoring little kids. I was tutoring English. And so the software internship ended before my tutoring internship, and not my tutoring internship, but before my tutoring. And then I also kept up the tutoring while I was working back at my student job, right? So if that makes sense, right? I ended up having 2 jobs, and then I ended up quitting because that was the semester that I had statistics. And I was like, I can't do this. No, man. Nope. And then so I ended up quitting over there, and I knew that I had an idea that I was gonna have to quit anyways because I chopped down my hours for a good minute. And so I was just like, you know what, I have these classes that last 3 hours 3 days a week, and it does it in the evening. I was like, I'm gonna have to use the rest of my time to study. It is what it is. I'm in my grad program, school over everything else. So then the last place for me to quit that was a side job was the tutoring place, but I maintained my student employment. Ask me why they're not asking me about my student employment. Regardless, on this, basically what was filed or what was decided at the end of the court, was that my student employment was not the most recent bona fide employment. So they were like, so you can go back and retry again. But I'm like, if I retry again, aren't I just gonna get the same results? I'm confused, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty much just gonna dub the whole thing because it just doesn't make sense to keep trying when these people don't want to help you, when they're just gonna keep on asking me about someplace that, in the forms, you guys know, if you guys apply to unemployment, the forms that they send you for clarification doesn't even make any sense. I'm like, you're asking for clarification by being as unclear as possible. So how can I answer these questions? It doesn't make any sense. So for the people who were able to get unemployment, I am happy for you because, you were able to get assistance when you were needing in that time, that you needed in that time. But for us who have not gotten it, because I was talking to some people as well who did not get the unemployment because they kind of went through the same thing that I was going through, where they were being sent documentation after the due date and they weren't admitted or they weren't accepted because they were too late or failure to provide documentation. I'm like, y'all mad whack. And let me slow down because I'm talking really fast. But not to mention, I think I should mention that I faxed something to them. Like I faxed my pay stubs to the court because, you know, we can't go in anywhere. But I faxed my pay stubs to the court. I also faxed a letter to the court, and I faxed proof that I faxed. And I faxed a lot. Like I had all this documentation just sitting here ready for them to ask me about it, to reference it, and they just completely like disregarded all of it. I was like, I had all this paper. You know it costs money to print, and y'all didn't even look at it. Fine, all right, I guess, whatever you say. So with all of that, I'm just, at the end of the day, I'm just kind of like that I gotta start having multiple avenues, multiple options for revenue. Like I can't just rely on one thing anymore. And I hated the fact that I needed to apply for unemployment, because I'd rather work for what I have. You know what I mean? But I'm not like saying like people who do apply for it aren't working for what they have. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like me personally, I'd rather be in control of what I get and how I get it, and I would rather work for it so nobody can try me. And here they are trying me, you feel me? So I don't know what else to say about this. I'm just saying, like, if we ever go through a pandemic and people are out here needing unemployment, they need to get their stuff together. They really need to start helping people out instead of making it more confusing than what it needs to be. Let me tell you. But to make this a lot lighter than the direction that it's going, I do want to say that I have learned about myself in this. How long have I been unemployed? I've been unemployed since May. That's 5. I've been unemployed for 5 months. Oh my goodness. I've been unemployed for 5 months, and during this time I have learned that I am someone who can slip into laziness if not, I want to say if given the opportunity, but I can slip into a depression really fast if I don't even want to say really fast. Like, you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot going on right now. So if you slip into a depression, it's not like it's really fast. It's because there's some shit going on. So during this time, I slipped into a depression. I got really sad. I got really lazy with some things because I just felt like I was stuck. Like, I was like, I'm 24 years old and I'm in this predicament. Like, who told me to try to continue in education and law? Like, I could have gotten a full-time job at the software company that I was like interning at. I could have stayed there. I could have just been good. But then I was like, you know what, Whitney? No. Because you're not thinking bigger. You're thinking too small for yourself. You're just thinking about getting the money now as opposed to making a difference. And so if I learned anything about myself during this time, is that I don't like settling for less. I don't like settling, period. Like, I also don't like handouts. Another thing that I learned is that I love to shop. Like, I knew that I love to shop, and I knew that I was very good at budgeting. But like, when you're depressed and a lot of shit is happening at once, you're like, those shoes look cute though. I don't care if they $65 and they're just black. I'm still gonna get it. Like, that's literally what I did. But the shoes are so cute. Like, I'm gonna wear them every single day. I needed new black shoes anyway, so I'm not even tripping. You ever feel like people stay trying you no matter what you do, and you're just like, I think that this is just the devil and God's trying to teach me something. Like, devil, get thee behind me because I don't have time for you. Like, at this point, I don't want to say like I'm talking big, because I'm not, because I definitely went through it. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I went through some shit, because like, being stuck in the house is not fun. It is not fun. And also the fact that like, you can't really go out like that either. Like, where am I gonna go? Who am I gonna go see? I don't trust these people out here. I'm in the South right now. I don't trust people to wear a mask. I went to Subway the other day and literally plastered on the door, no mask, no entry, or a mask is required for entry. I walked in there, 2 literal motherfuckers without a mask on. And they were standing 6 feet apart, but I was like, but where your mask at? Like, what are you, like, aren't you not supposed to be in here? But I'm sure the kid that was like behind the desk, they were protected, like, regardless. But he was probably like, you know what? Whatever, like, I don't even care at this point. Like, just, I'm gonna serve them their sandwiches and then get them the fuck up out of here. But I wanted to talk about unemployment because I wanted to see what you guys thought, how you felt, if you kind of went through the same thing that I went through. I don't know. I won't know until you tell me. But one thing I do want to mention is that even though there is a lot going on right now, I guess we shouldn't allow that to necessarily change our directions or change our motivation. And one of the ways that I kind of stay, I don't know if I should mention this for my non-believers, but I guess I'll mention something else for them. But for my believers, I've constantly like been praying like nobody's business. Like God has really become my best friend throughout this whole time, because who better than to keep you comforted than the Lord? Like I'm telling you, throughout all of this, I have been nothing but relying on my faith. I've been nothing but like keeping my spirituality up. I've been talking to God every single day. I talk to him all the time. Like I wake up, I talk to him. I'm like, Lord, what is this? Like I talk to him like I would talk to any one of my friends. And that has really kept me comforted, because even though there may be some times where, you may feel alone or I may feel alone, it's comforting to know that somebody is listening. Now, for my people out there that may not believe in a spiritual being at all, or may not believe in the Lord at all, another thing that has helped me out was staying busy. Now, this is something that I thought at first might be a little bit toxic, because I noticed that if I wasn't kept busy, I was immediately sad. My voice sounded weird in that moment, but I was immediately sad, or I was immediately falling back into the same routine that I did when I was depressed. So if you're going to keep yourself busy, be intentional with what you're doing, right? You can still keep yourself busy, but also heal in those moments. So do healing actions. Do something that's going to help you rather than hurt you. So a lot of things that I was doing to keep myself busy was like working on a whole bunch of things, studying, and yes, it was working, but like, what are you going to do when you don't have to study anymore? And so that's kind of in the place where I'm at right now. I'm filming a lot. I'm studying a lot, like studying I don't want to say I'm studying the Bible, but like I'm focusing heavily on my spirituality. I'm also doing a lot of things that I like to do, like my guitar. I haven't picked up my guitar in a long time, and I picked it up for the first time like the other day, and I was like, I really enjoy doing this. Why did I stop? And I stopped because I was just so busy. But just move in a healthy manner, in a healthy way. Like, don't forget about your mental health. So that completes this episode. We just talked about a whole bunch of things. We talked about unemployment screwing us over. We talked about how we overcame that, I guess. We talked about how we try to not let our mental health get the best of us just for a little bit. So I hope that I helped alleviate some sort of stress today. I hope I helped you guys in any which way that it possibly may be. If you felt connected to me in any way, don't forget, I do have a YouTube channel where you can also see this. I have a lot of videos. I talk about a lot of things that have occurred in my life, a lot of different lifestyle videos. I also have a lot of law videos if you're interested in that, because that is the career path that I'm currently going towards. And also, it's separate from this podcast, because this podcast, I want to say we get a little bit more specific, whereas, well, I don't want to say we get a little bit more specific, but we get a little bit more specific about different things. And I could talk for 40 minutes and you guys will listen. But as far as like YouTube, it's just kind of like, who wants to watch a 40-minute video unless it's like mad tea in there? And even though there's tea on here, I don't know what to say. I don't know. There's different videos on there. So check me out. Go on there. My YouTube is Whitney's Script. And this podcast is Etching Scripts 101 on Instagram, as well as my personal Instagram, which is Whitney's Script. If you go on there, you'll see it. So I just want to say thank you guys for joining me today, and I hope to see you next week.